In this video, I'll be sharing with you a simple tutorial on how to cut a hoodie with a hoodie cap and also how to cut a kangaroo pocket with sleeve. So to start, when making a hoodie, there are several things you need to have in mind. First is the length. Now, another thing is if your hoodie is going to stop at your waist, you're actually going to use your bust circumference plus 2 to 3 inches or 4 inches ease to make your hoodie. But if your hoodie will be longer, that is going towards the hip area of your dress, you're going to use your hip circumference divided by 4 plus extra ease. Another thing you're going to do is when you get the length, you're going to minus the band from the actual length of the dress. After this, the next step you're going to take is to mark your shoulder. Now you're going to mark your shoulder divided by 2. So for a hoodie, the shoulder is not always tight, it's not fitted. It's either you have a drop at the shoulder, which can be 1 inch to 3 inches. All those oversized hoodie you see is between 2 inches to 3 inches drop from the shoulder. So now I'm using 1 inch, which is more like a normal hoodie, but if you want to have more drop on the shoulder area, you can use 2 to 3 inches. So I'll go down by 1 inch at that point and then mark a basic neckline of 3 inches by 1 for the back pattern. After I'm done marking this, I'm going to go ahead to place my curved drew and I'm going to connect. After I'm done connecting, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to connect from the shoulder to the neckline. Now, the first part we are cutting on this dress is that of the back pattern. Now, after this, find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and you're going to mark. But note, when you're cutting a hoodie, the armhole is not your actual armhole. You're going to use something bigger than your armhole to give you that free effect that you normally see on a hoodie. Now, I'll just mark what I have on my shoulder, which is my shoulder measurement plus the 1 inch drop I want on my shoulder. If you want yours to be more, use 2 inches. At the beginning of this video, you notice on one of these hoodie the shoulder has a drop in more, while the other is just a slight drop. So now, because of that, your armhole needs to be free. So I'm adding extra 2 inches to the actual chest line or armhole of my dress to have that free effect at this area. Right now, I'll extend whatever I have. Now, the next thing is to measure around your armhole. Now, whatever you have around your armhole, you're going to add like 2 to 3 inches ease to it because of you want the armhole of your hoodie to be very free, right? Now, and for a hoodie, the armhole is not like your normal armhole that is curved. It's not really that curved, it is slightly curved. So what I'll do now is I'll place my tape from here to that point and I'll divide what I have into 2 equal parts. So from here now, I will make a curve. This is where I'll start drawing out my armhole curve. Now, to know what to mark on your armhole curve, just like I said before, measure your armhole round and then add ease, how free you want it to be. My round armhole is 16 inches divided by 2, it will give me 8. So I added extra 2 inches to mine, giving me 10. So I'll go ahead and use that 10 inches on this point. I'll go ahead and measure and make sure that what I have around that armhole curve area is around 10 inches. So after this, I'll just go ahead and curve it out a bit. So now for the measurement, I'm going to use, what I'll be using is my hip circumference plus 3 inches because we are making this hoodie to be a bit big. That is, it's a bit long going down. But if your hoodie is stopping within your waist or not that towards the hip, because the hip is actually bigger than the bust most times. So what you will use if your hoodie is not going all the way down, you will just use your bust circumference divided by 4 plus extra 3 inches. But if your hoodie is going down, just like the green hoodie we have on that picture, you're going to use your hip circumference divided by 4 plus extra 3 inches or 4. I'll measure my shoulder to the hoodie length I want, and I'll minus 2 inches or 2.5. So that part, I'll go ahead to replace it with a band. Now if you notice at the lower part of a hoodie, most times it has like a band, so you're going to replace it with a more stretchy fabric that will help gather that part of your hoodie. And most times when you're cutting that fabric, is not exactly the measurement you have at the lower part. You can cut something that is at least 3 inches smaller or 5 inches smaller, and then you can drag it round to fit the wideness at the lower part. With that way, you have this little shrink effect at the lower part. So now I'll be using this same pattern to cut out the front and the back, because the hoodie, in a hoodie measurement, there's no particular pattern. Just like when we are cutting out the front of a normal dress, you can go ahead to add the dart, and then the back pattern will be different. For a hoodie, you can use the same pattern for your front and your back. All you have to do is to go ahead and increase the neckline of the dress. So I'm just using about 3 inches by 3, or you can use 3 inches by 2.8, depending on how high you want the neckline to be. Now the next step is to cut your hoodie cap. So for an adult, you can use this standard measurement of 16 inches by 12 inches on fold, but I added half inch, making my 16 inches by 12.5 inches. Now at the lower part of your pattern, come up by 1.5. In some cases, if you want it to curvy or slanted, you can come up by 2.5 and connect, or make like a little curve that area. So if you don't want to use this measurement, you can go ahead to measure or take your own measurement. How to do that is to go ahead to measure for the height. Go ahead to place your tape at your head and measure all the way to the backbone of your neckline. That is for the height. Now for the width, is measure from one front part of your eye round your head to the other side of your front eye. That is how to get that measurement. So in front of my hoodie, I came down by 1 inch, and from this closed part, I came in by 4 inches. So now I'm going to make a curve going over to that side this way. So after curving that out, I'll go down by 4 inches here, and I'll go ahead to connect from this point all the way down to the other side. And for this pattern, you're going to cut out 2 pieces for the main fabric, 2 pieces for the lining. So now from here to this point, go ahead and measure what you have. After measuring what you have, you're going to divide it into 2 this way, and you mark. From that point, you're going to come in by ½ inch. Now after marking this, I'm going to go ahead to slant this to the end of my pattern, and I'll take it to the upper part also. And after I'm done cutting this out, this is my hoodie cap. So for your cap, when you're attaching it to your neckline, if it sits, you can go ahead to readjust. At the lower part, I came in by ½ inch, and I will connect it to give it that slant. So if you remember, when I was drafting this out, I made mention of adding additional ½ inch to my pattern, because I wanted to give it that slant at the front. So now for this hoodie cap, you're going to cut out 4 pieces. That is 2 pieces for the main lining, 2 pieces for the main fabric. Now you're going to join the upper part. That is, you're going to join the upper part now with ½ inch this way. Now you now have like an opening here. Now you also join the lining the same way. Now after joining it, you now fix your lining, push it inside this way. Now you now go ahead to top stitch it, to turn it from this front part, which you can now go ahead to run a stitch on each round, so that you can attach like that hoodie rope that you normally see in front of your hoodie. Now going over for your kangaroo pocket that is usually in front, what you need is 14 inches by 10 inches. Now you're going to place this on fold. So from one side this way, I'm going to come down by 4 inches. So here I'll come in by 3 inches, and I'll go ahead to place my ruler, and I'll connect. After I'm done connecting, I'm just going to cut it out. So you can go ahead to tape up that area with your bias, or use the same fabric to fold it, and then fold the upper part, then attach it to the front part of your pocket. So that is how to get your kangaroo pocket. So to cut out your sleeve, what you need to do is to go ahead and measure what you have round here, because you actually need it for your sleeve, because whatever you have should match up with your sleeve. Now I'm going to get the full length of my sleeve, and after I'm done marking that, the next step is I will mark 1 inch. Remember, we had a come down from the dress, that is from the hoodie, by 1 inch, so I'll be minusing it from my sleeve. So if you have a 2 inches come down, you take it down, because that 1 inch you have will come down to your shoulder area or your sleeve area. So now what I'll do is to find my sleeve cap height, which is your bust circumference divided by 12 plus 0.5. I roughly have like 3.5 inches, and I'll minus 1 inch from it because of that come down we have, and then I'll mark, because we already replaced it at the armhole of our dress. So the next step you want to take is to go ahead to measure how big you want your sleeve to be. So go ahead and take a measurement on that. You can go ahead to measure around your sleeve and add ease. So in some cases, the measurement you use on top is what you use at the lower part. But if you don't want it to be that way, I'll still go ahead and mark a second round sleeve for the lower part of this dress. So now if you want that part to be smaller, all you have to do is measure around your sleeve and you're going to add ease. Now also, you're also going to cut out a band for the lower part of this sleeve, which you're going to attach it. That way is going to make your sleeve go up a bit and have like that sweater sleeve effect. So now I'll go ahead and reconnect. So whichever way you want the sleeve of your dress to be very big or very small, you can go ahead to determine from these sides. Right now, for that band you're cutting, you also use a stretchy fabric. Now what you do is go ahead to connect. After you're done connecting, whatever measurement you have round the armhole of your dress, remember we measured the round armhole of our dress, that is what you're going to have on this sleeve. So after marking it, you're going to go ahead to keep readjusting it until you get that exact measurement, because what you have on the sleeve should match up with what you have on the armhole of the dress. And when you get that, all you do is just to go ahead to cut it out. So I'll just go ahead and I will cut this out. So with this, we have come to the end.